Okay. In your opinion, has there been an increase in trauma or PTSD in recent times? So why and how has recent events, pandemic, changed how people manage trauma and their PTSD symptoms?
So, 70% of people would experience a traumatic event in their lifetime, in the sense that I was talking trauma. And of those, 20% would go on to have persistent symptoms and could develop PTSD. And the traumas can be, as I was saying before, sexual assault, violence, near death experiences, natural disasters, and so on. The pandemic has brought a lot of trauma to many people because you can also get it from a sudden death of somebody close to you, or many people that have been at the hospital having COVID, when they recover, they come back. And there was one study from Italy, recent, a couple of months ago, that showed that most people, 30%, had symptoms of PTSD. So it is happening because it's exactly that definition of trauma: you fear for your life. And that is the type of trauma that can get you the symptoms afterwards. So we are seeing more of this. We are also seeing more of trauma that is inflicted, and this might not get into the definition of PTSD per se, because it's not life-threatening, but it would come in the definition of trauma and having the same symptoms, which is these microaggressions due to racism, due to social unrest, continuous bullying, things like this. Racial discrimination can also give you that. And those trauma symptoms, whether or not it's PTSD, it doesn't really matter. You still are suffering when you go out.
Absolutely. I could imagine a situation of the racial unrest and the protests in 2020. Anyone who was brave enough to make it to a protest probably at some point was close to some potentially trauma-causing experiences. So not only has 2020 been the year of trauma, perhaps because of the pandemic, which we know is just one thing. However, we've had stress from political situations,
Yep.
from obviously social unrest. That's just thinking about the United States. However, if we look beyond that, the world is full of situations that cause stress and trauma. So another interesting area to look at, Silvia, I think would be anyone who has had any trauma in terms of being an immigrant or a refugee, perhaps someone seeking asylum. Gosh, there's so many examples of this to be had. I'm thinking in recent times, people trying to make their way to the United States from Mexico, for example, and how either parents or children could be affected by trauma of separation that happened at the border. Have you looked at these areas of potential trauma at all? And are there potentially people that are suffering in this way?
I think absolutely there is people suffering. Again, when we talk about the trauma that causes symptoms, right? It has to be something that is powerful, that you are afraid of your life, that is this kind of level. But nearly per definition, if you are an asylum seeker, you probably has been through something pretty horrible on the other end. So it should be expected that there is a high rate of trauma in these people. Then again, some people would not develop the symptoms, and that's all fine. Thankfully, not everybody gets it. But there would be a need among the population just because the exposure is higher to potential trauma.
That brings me to another question that I have. I wonder if you can answer. Are there differences with the manifestation of trauma as a symptom depending on the culture that people are from? Or is this something universal? And is this something that Mira is looking into or taking into account?
Culturally, I think the types of trauma that you can get are more related to your environment and what might be happening around you. So obviously, somebody who is coming as an asylum, we were talking about, because there is war, where they're coming from, is a very different setup than somebody who is getting away from their country because of repression, or because they have been incarcerated, or they are being persecuted for some other reasons. Those things, I think, would have different traumas and different manifestations. The way things manifest are different for different people. So there are kind of these 4 types, but the exact manifestation can be different. But back to kind of your question, are we thinking about this being a US thing or being an international thing? And absolutely. I mean, trauma is everywhere. It's not exclusive of this country or that country. And we would like to bring that to everybody as we grow it. We have started here because this is where we are. This is what we understand and where we can start making some inroads. But I would look forward to putting it in different languages and going to other places where it can make a difference.
That's fantastic, Silvia. The universality of trauma, I think, is a great conclusion that we're getting to here because it does go across borders, across languages, across socioeconomic divides. As we're talking, I'm thinking about more maybe what you might call white collar trauma, right? That could just be quite as valid as people who are suffering, the experience. And I'm pretty sure that the experience here of trauma and stress, the physical response, is the same whether you are under huge pressure to perform in a board meeting on a Zoom call, or if you are being chased by a lion. The actual physical manifestation, if I'm not mistaken, is the same. You get the hairs that stand up on your neck, you get arousal and things like that happen. Is it true that it is that universal, or am I oversimplifying?
Trauma is universal in that it can happen to everybody, right? And the numbers I was saying, 70% of people experience that traumatic event in their lifetime. It tells you that it happens very often. Again, not everything is going to be a traumatic experience in that level. But if you have it and you have then the symptoms, it can be triggered for different things. You don't need to be in the jungle in order to be triggered. It can happen anywhere. But, maybe another good way to think about it is one of the traumas that are more on the across sociocultural and economic parts is also sexual assault. So we all know the dreadful numbers of how many people get raped, especially women. And this is one of the main causes of post-traumatic stress in that population.
Okay, that's interesting to analyze as well. While the experience is universal, there are certainly demographics that are more exposed to it. Let's not forget about that. Certainly, people in lower socioeconomic situations or women as a gender may experience more trauma during their lives than other demographics. So, Silvia, finally, I'd like to ask your opinion. You're working really hard in this field and pushing the forefront of technology applications. What do you foresee changing in trauma, stress, post-traumatic stress disorder treatment in the next year or so, or farther into the future?
We are changing part of this by introducing more self-care and self-management, because we think that is a key gap in between the sessions, right? And that's a component that is missing. So we see that coming more and more. We not only see it in our field, but in general for healthcare, and digital health is going on to both medical and mental conditions. So that is absolutely one of the trends we expect to see happening. The other thing we focus on is information and data on what's happening, why, because we can then provide personalized treatment, optimized treatment by giving it both to the person suffering, but also giving to their therapist. And that is another trend that is across the board, not only for mental health, but also for medical and healthcare in general. So those two trends, I'm positive they will continue to happen. We expect to be the ones that make it happen in this particular field and even expand it to other mental health conditions. But we also, personally, each of us, understanding better that we need to take care of ourselves. That is part of our duty or our to-do list to also do that. And the more we can care about ourselves, the wellness, the more balanced things, we're going to be better. And there are amazing tools out there to do more of that. We are focusing on one because we have seen this extreme need. And in that, we're also hoping to take further away the stigma of thinking and talking about these kinds of issues and mental health in general, because we have been focusing a lot on medical health for many years. The next big pandemic is probably mental health.
Yeah, certainly seeing a lot of need for innovations like yours in mental health and behavioral health as well. So thank you. I have just the very last thing here. I want to make sure we leave you a spot. Tell us, where can we find you? Where can we find out more about the Mira app and Mira Therapeutics? And what else have we missed about what you're working on that you should announce right now?
Thank you. So the Mira app is actually available already now. It will be available in both Android and iOS before the end of the year. So stay tuned for that. If you want to email directly in your mailbox when it's available, just go to our website and sign up.
In the meantime, I'll just be eating popcorn. I'm excited.
And you can find us at miratx.app as our website or in our Instagram. We would certainly invite you to follow us on Instagram. We put a lot of content, tips. It is our mission to help people. So if you have somebody who has trauma, has had it, or could benefit from it right now, is available for free, and we will have it for free through the Christmas time and the holidays.
Silvia, that's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to the release for iOS, and we will be following Mira very closely. Fantastic work. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you very much, Ed.
Thank
and
you.
Ad Astra. Bye.